Istanbul, Turkey's government on Sunday issued a decree dismissing more than 18,000 state employees, a day before President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was set to begin a new 5-year term bolstered by vastly enhanced powers. Latest dismissals significantly expanded a government purge of state institutions that began after a failed coup 2 years ago. Before Sunday, at least 130,000 people had been sacked based on what authorities said were links to terror groups. Human rights groups say the purge has also targeted the government's political opponents and critics and has swept up innocent people, as well. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will gain significant powers as Turkey transitions from a parliamentary system to an executive presidency, a system that presidents' critics argue will entrench one-man rule. Berhan Özbilici, The Associated Press, 9,000 police officers and hundreds of soldiers and academics were dismissed from their jobs Sunday, according to the decree published in the State Gazette. 3 newspapers and a television channel were shuttered, and 148 other people who had previously been dismissed were reinstated. Read more. Turkey's Erdogan to assume sweeping powers after victory in presidential election. Article continued below. President Erdogan surprises Turkey by calling early elections for June. Recep Tayyip Erdogan declares victory in Turkish presidential election. The purge has been carried out under a 2-year state of emergency that granted the government extraordinary powers and has come to define Turkey's anxious, divided and frequently violent era following the failed coup. Erdogan is expected to lift the state of emergency as he begins his new term, bowing to a persistent opposition demand. But he will also gain significant powers as Turkey transitions from a parliamentary system to an executive presidency, a system that presidents' critics argue will entrench one-man rule. Erdogan was re-elected last month despite an unusually unified challenge by Turkey's often fractured opposition. He will also command a majority in parliament because of an alliance between his ruling Justice and Development Party and another nationalist political party. Changes to Turkey's constitution that were narrowly approved by voters in a referendum last year eliminated the post of prime minister, enlarged the parliament and gave the president the authority to select the cabinet, control the budget and to unilaterally issue decrees. In arguing for the changes, Erdogan's supporters had invoked Turkey's history of tempestuous politics, current security threats and the need to streamline an unwieldy bureaucracy. Article continued below. We will speed up the work of the state and make it effective by merging institutions that do similar work and eliminating institutions that have become dysfunctional, Erdogan said on Saturday. But the changes have also produced something else, a president with a heavy concentration of powers, without any effective checks or balances, said Erdogan Özbilici, a Turkish constitutional law expert. The most consequential change, he said, was to the judiciary, because of changes in the way members of a senior judicial council were appointed. The president would, directly or indirectly, be able to appoint 6 of the council's 13 members. The other 7 would be appointed by a parliament expected to vote in Erdogan's favor. If you control that body, it means you control the entire judiciary, Özbilici said. All 13 members are people the government has confidence in. We can no longer talk about an impartial judiciary, he said. While the president's ability to issue decrees was an important power, such decrees could not limit political or civil rights, Özbilici said. The lifting of emergency rule, if carried out, would be a positive step, he said, but did not answer the questions of what policies Erdogan would pursue as he accumulated more power. Will they be more conciliatory, or more or less continue the same approach? That remains to be seen, Özbilici said.